Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Rotundon, and today I've decided that we're going to start a game series, and we're going to start with Sherlock Holmes. The case we're starting with is The Fate of Black Peter. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, leave a like, subscribe if you look forward to more, and let's play Sherlock Holmes.
Holmes! Holmes, will you stop that? You are utterly mad. Stop, Holmes!
Is that you, Watson?
Yes, of course it is. And you almost killed me.
Nonsense. I was aiming for the vases.
Blindfolded?
Watson, quiet, please. I'm trying to concentrate. Ah, Lestrade. What is it this time?
He can see me. Well, here it is, and it's a good one, Mr. Holmes. A gentleman by the name of Peter Carey, also known as Black Peter, has been murdered.
A sailor, most probably.
What happened here?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, how could you?
It's the only exercise I've had all week. A grateful client from Limoges sent me a vase collection this morning. I couldn't think of a better use for it.
You're out of your mind.
I missed 4 out of 10.
Given you were blindfolded, that was very good. Can I have a try?
Am I the only sane one here?
I suppose that Watson is right, Inspector. A little brain work would be preferable now. Do please tell us more about Black Peter.
Peter Carey, born in 1845 and 50 years old. An ambitious sort, he achieved much success in seal and whale hunting around Scandinavia. Retired in 1884 with a small fortune. He invested his money in a property called Woodman's Lee, near Forest Row in Sussex. It was where he lived for 6 years, and where he was found dead yesterday.
Has the investigation already begun?
Yes and no. In fact, this crime is so mysterious that I would prefer you to join me down there.
Give me half an hour to prepare, Inspector.
Take your time and join me there. I have to go through the yard first. The merry men struck again.
What have they done this time?
They robbed a powder reserve. I'll meet you at Woodman's Lee, Mr. Holmes.
I should help Mrs. Hudson here. I also have several appointments that I must keep this afternoon.
I shall go alone then.
Okay, press X to open the casebook and check your current progress in investigations and tasks. Okay, so that is our profile of the victim. Investigate the murder, inspect the crime scene at Woodman's Lee, and select a suit to wear. Okay, let's select a suit then. Okay, I think I'm going to go with this suit. Okay, I think I'm going to stick with the first person view. I just much prefer it. And I guess we'll head down to the crime scene.
Mr. Holmes, I'm over here. Come on.
Okay, we'll make our way through the garden now. Concentrate your attention on finding details that others are too inclined to overlook. Not inclined to overlook. Footprints. Aha!
These footprints appear to be quite large.
They do. I'm assuming for those footprints we will have to find a boot to measure with. Let's talk to Lestrade.
Inspector Lestrade, when will you remove my husband's body? It's sacrilegious to leave him here like this.
As soon as we can, Mrs. Carey, I assure you. Allow me to introduce you to Mr. Sherlock Holmes. He's a detective. No doubt you've heard of him. I'll wait for you in front of the cabin, Mr. Holmes.
My condolences, Mrs. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Madam, can you tell me if you saw or heard anything unusual upon the night of the murder?
At 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard a terrible scream. But I thought nothing of it then. He would scream all the time when he was drunk.
Can you please tell me what occurred on the evening of the murder?
Well, Peter got drunk in the evening. He was in such a terrible temper. Usually whenever that happened, he'd stay all night drinking in his cabin before passing out.
Do you remember at what time you found your husband's body?
In the morning, at around 7 o'clock, I noticed the cabin door was open, but I didn't go in to take a look, for I knew my husband would not have liked it. At around 10 o'clock, I dared to glance in through the door and... oh dear.
Was your husband accustomed to receiving visitors?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, he didn't really have many friends. He lived quite an isolated life here, after his retirement.
The garden is very large and well-maintained. Do you employ someone to look after it?
It is true, there is a lot of work, but my husband took care of it himself.
You have indeed suffered a great loss, Mrs. Carey. Nevertheless, I believe it will be less of a burden for you soon.
Yes. Life with Peter was never easy, but he was still my husband.
He was different, wasn't he, when you first met him upon your return from Plymouth?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Oh, my goodness, but how do you know about that?
You undertook a pilgrimage to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela when you were young. That much is evident from the rosary in your hand. The shortest route for the pilgrim from England to Spain is from Plymouth. I believe that you met Peter Carey as a young sailor there, and you married him soon afterwards.
That is indeed what happened, Mr. Holmes. How extraordinary.
Thank you, madam.
I guess we inspect the crime scene.
The door is locked.
Wait just a moment, Mr. Holmes, and I'll open it. I locked it yesterday to ensure that no one should enter the cabin and tamper with the evidence.
Ah, good thinking.
Hello, hello, hello.
What is it, Lestrade?
It seems to me that someone has tried to force it, Mr. Holmes.
Let me see. These scratches are fresh. You're right. Someone tried to force open the door.
I swear these scratches were not here yesterday.
Our mysterious visitor came here last night.
Well, he's not the man for the job. This lock is not a difficult one.
Perhaps he did not have the right tool.
Okay, so we have an inexperienced lockpick or someone that just didn't have the tools to get the job done. Okay, my guy has been absolutely impaled. I'm not sure, is that a spear? Or, I guess we're going to have a look around the room.
She was the ship that Peter Carey commanded.
Okay.
Harpoons for hunting.
Ah,
whales.
okay, it's a harpoon. He got killed with one of his own
The
harpoons.
ship's
Damn.
lines of the Sea Unicorn for the years 1878 to 1884. Peter Carey was her captain.
Okay, he was captain, so that's quite interesting. That is quite interesting. That might come in handy at some point, knowing he's the captain.
The tooth of a...
A sperm whale tooth. This looks like, yeah, it looks like something's missing. See, you know, you might want to mock.
With dust.
But I am Sherlock.
From here, it was larger than a book.
Larger than a book,
or
a box, a small chest, perhaps. Okay. Interesting. Let's have a look in the wooden chest. Ah, maybe some boots to match the
Peter Carey's
footprints.
boots. They look to be a size 8.
Interesting. Anything else?
Old
A lot of
navigation instruments,
liquor.
Nothing interesting. Someone drank from this glass recently. Rum, a sailor's drink. It seemed that Captain Carey was enjoying a drink before he met his death.
Seemed like he was potentially drinking with someone else.
The initials PC
Ah.
had been crudely burned. A sailor's work.
PC for Peter Carey, I would assume. Let's open this up. Let's have a look at the tobacco. Anything in there?
This aroma is familiar, but to recognize it, I must construct my associations in one picture.
Okay, in case this takes a while, we are just going to go to when it's completed now.
Yes, this is a coarse tobacco, quite strong and very popular among sailors.
Okay, so we know that he has a tobacco pouch in here with his initials on. Is there anything else I can check out? Nope, so I guess we'll check the body.
The weapon fully penetrated the body. The force of the blow was immense. Peter Carey was fully dressed. He was not caught by surprise. It is possible that he knew his murderer.
What is this knife?
This blood is from the pool underneath the dead body. This wooden handle is plain and solid. Peter Carey tried to defend himself with this knife, but he did not succeed. JHN are probably the initials of the owner of this notebook.
Okay, we have somewhat of a lead. JHN. Okay.
The pattern
That
of the
proves
blood
that they were
stain
here
indicates that the notebook was not lying on
the same
floor
night.
prior to the crime. It
Ah.
was dropped into the pool of blood after the death of Peter Carey.
Intentionally or not, I wonder. Nothing on the back.
These abbreviations mean something, but what?
I'm sure we will find out. Let's go down to the pool of blood again if we can.
Peter
we can't,
Carey
the
was
harpoon,
impaled
okay.
to the wall. This man is in his 50s, yet he still looks quite strong.
Okay, so let's do some deductions. I quite like this about this game. The break-in attempts and the notebook are the ones that would go together. And let's see what that opens up for us. An ambush must be made tonight to see if the break-in will be repeated.
Well, Mr. Holmes, what do you think?
I think that we are lucky,
And why is that?
because of last night's attempted break-in.
Oof, you've lost me.
It is very probable that whoever came here hoped to find the door open. They tried to force it with a knife blade, but they failed. What will they do? Why, return tonight, when they will be better prepared.
Aha! So what do you propose?
We shall remain on the outside, near the window, where we stand the best chance of catching sight of our visitor. Well, gentlemen, ready your pistols. We have a long night ahead of us.
Shh! Did you hear that? There's someone there. I'm gonna collar him.
I'll be right behind you.
All right, my fine fellow. Who are you and what are you doing here?
You're detectives, I suppose. You imagine that I'm connected with the death of Captain Carey. I assure you I'm innocent.
Innocence? And what are you doing in his cabin?
Shall I tell you? You came to retrieve what you had lost after killing Peter Carey, but we were here waiting for you.
What is your name?
John Hopley Nelligan, but I didn't...
Do you deny that you came here yesterday?
No, but yes, it's just that I couldn't...
I'm tired of this. Off we go to the yard. Tomorrow, I'll see that you're put in front of the judge.
What? But you can't! I'm not... It's a terrible mistake!
Enough. You can explain all of that to the judge. You're coming with me to the yard.
But...
In light of recent events, it seems evident that your coming here was unnecessary. All the same, I'm very grateful to you, Mr. Holmes.
You are welcome, Inspector. But please don't be too hard on our young fellow. I would like to question him tomorrow morning.
Okay, let's check out the evidence from the kid
These
that
are
we
the
met
suspect's
last night.
belongings. The notebook that we found on Peter Carey's cabin floor.
That's quite damning. You know, that proves that he is there.
A pocket knife.
Pocket knife
It
that
was
he
used
used to get
force the
into the cabin. Yep.
A handkerchief with the initials JHN.
The same initials. Okay, and a ring that he had.
From R. Dawson. To my friend and partner, 1883. Dawson.
Interesting.
I've seen this name before. Perhaps my archive holds the answer.
So I feel like after we interrogate Nelligan, we will go back and we'll dig through our archives to see if we can find anything on Dawson.
Does this notebook belong to you?
Yes. But where did you find it? I did not know... I thought I'd lost it at the hotel.
What do these abbreviations mean?
Oh, no. I beg you, I can't. If I told you, it would only make things worse.
But I will find out eventually, Mr. Nelligan. The sea knife was found near Carey's body. Tell me, Mr. Nelligan, did Mr. Carey try to defend himself or to attack you with it?
I don't know.
The police seized this valuable ring from you. Whose is it?
I didn't steal it from anyone. It has always belonged to me.
The ring's date of engraving is many years ago. You would have been a child then, hardly in any position to receive such an item from a partner. So, Mr. Nelligan, who is the true owner of the ring?
The ring is mine.
No, Mr. Nelligan. I believe that the ring had belonged to your father.
Oh, but how do you know?
The jacket you are wearing is made of an expensive fabric that only a man of exceptional wealth could afford. You do not seem to me to be a rich man, Mr. Nelligan. Furthermore, the garment is ill-fitting. It is quite clear that it belonged to someone else, most probably your father. With your father gone and taking with him the family's wealth, as a little boy you had to find yourself a manual job, and it was most probably cleaning fish. You cut your hands often while working. I can tell from the scars.
I'm speechless, Mr. Holmes. It all happened exactly as you say.
Yeah, I think we'll head back to Baker Street now to search through our archives, see if we can find anything on R. Dawson. Ah, here we are. Dawson and Nelligan Investment Fund bankrupt, Nelligan missing. The Dawson and Nelligan Investment Fund, a regional banking institution in Cornwall, has declared bankruptcy and had been assigned to liquidation. 23rd largest bank in Britain, and its bankruptcy was the second largest on record. Wow, okay.
Here it is.
So this explains a lot. So we can go and talk
Now
to
I
John
begin to
Nelligan about
understand
it.
that young man's story.
Yeah.
But I am still unclear as to what connects him with the murder. It is time to ask him.
Okay, before walking in and talking with John again, I believe it'd be best to do some deductions. So, okay, break-in attempts is Nelligan's notebook. Those two go together now. Do any others go together? No. Gardner doesn't go with any of these. Swift actions to pin to the wall. Okay, there's two deductions that we've been able to get from the clues that we currently have. One is that the break-in attempts were made in order to recover the notebook that had been lying in the pool of the victim's blood. This proves the guilt of the person who made the attempts. It proves that he was there also. And this one, we need to find out whether an unskilled and untrained man can use a harpoon well enough to kill a man by fully piercing a body. Okay, so that's something that we would have to set up with Watson. Okay, and now let's talk to John quickly about what we can talk to him about.
I have heard the story of Dawson and Nelligan, the West Country bankers.
Yes. Joshua Nelligan was my father.
I am aware that it had a bad ending. When the bank failed, it ruined half the families of Cornwall, whereupon Joshua Nelligan disappeared.
My father was under extraordinary pressure. Dawson had retired. I was only 10 years of age at the time, but it was still old enough to feel the shame that befell our family. My father was convinced that he could pay off all his debts if the creditors gave him time. He set sail for Hammerfest in Norway in his small yacht, just a few days before an arrest warrant was issued. He left my mother a list of the securities he was taking. No word was ever heard from him again. We believe that his vessel went down, taking with it everyone and everything on board.
Thank you for the story, Mr. Nelligan. At last, we are making some progress. Interesting. Joshua Nelligan and Peter Carey were both at sea in Norway. There is definitely some connection between Peter Carey and Joshua Nelligan's disappearance.
Okay, so now this explains a good amount. We're going to have to go back to the crime scene, into the cabin, to examine Peter Carey's ship logs, and also we might have to take a harpoon for the harpoon experiment. Okay, now while we're here, we can test Peter Carey's boots with the footprint. That does not look like a match to me.
The footprints.
No. Okay, so we're looking for another set of boots. Now we can take a harpoon for the experiment, and let's examine the ship logs.
That's the one I need. This is the crudest
Okay,
of the sea
Peter
unicorn.
Carey. I cannot see Nelligan anywhere.
Log notes for June. Nothing unusual. Log
Okay.
notes for July.
Okay, nothing
Log notes
special.
for August.
I don't see Nelligan
Canadian
anywhere,
Pacific
although there is
Railway,
this.
CPR, a torn piece from a bond certificate. I have
Oh,
seen this
CPR.
abbreviation somewhere very recently. There are 3 ways of discovering what happened.
Where did
in
I see
August of
CPR?
1883 aboard the Sea Unicorn. The first 2 of these will require speaking with a dead man. The last would be to locate vital witnesses, the sailors involved in this whale hunt campaign.
Okay, so a little bit more progression. I think we're going to go and talk to Mrs. Carey again just to see if there's anything else we can try and pry from her that she might have any kind of clue on. But CPR, I need to remember where I saw those initials.
Is this your husband's tobacco pouch?
I'm not sure. It might be, but he hadn't smoked in a very long time.
Your husband's private papers. Do you know where they are?
There was a small tin box, barely larger than a book. He kept his papers there. It should be somewhere in his cabin.
Okay, so she's unsure that that's his backy pouch and says that he hasn't smoked in a long time. That is quite... That's quite interesting. I think what we're going to do is... What pieces of evidence do we have? Find a use for that. The ship logs, yep, we spoke... Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we'll see Watson, but first I want to go to the evidence room because I have a sneaky feeling that's where I saw CPR.
These are the suspect's belongings.
I could be correct, I could be totally
I wonder if
wrong.
these are connected.
Aha, yes, okay.
Now we have the
I
proof that
am
Nelligan's
Sherlock.
papers were indeed
Nice.
here. It seems that they have vanished, however.
That was good though, that was good though. Well played, Sherlock. Now we have a deduction to be made. And I think I'll do it on the way back over to Baker Street. Okay, now we've managed to get 2 deductions out of the clues that we have. One is that the valuable bond certificates were kept inside the stolen tin box, which is of course true. And now we have one which gives us 2 options that, you know, I guess we get to pick morally what we think is the right one. The first one is that the break-in attempts were made in order to recover the notebook that had been lying in a pool of the victim's blood. This proves the guilt of the person who made these attempts. It at least proves that they were there, at the very least. And the second one was that Nelligan was looking for his father's papers inside of Black Peter's cabin. It explains his presence at the scene of the murder. Now, that is hard. He could have been looking for his father's papers, as he didn't know his father at all. But then I feel like the second one was to recover his notebook, but the first one wasn't, I don't think. I think he was looking for papers. I think we're going to stick with that one for now. Oh, wow, okay. And this has brought up a bigger one. So, John Nelligan could have been caught stealing the bond certificates. This might have been a motive for him to kill Peter Carey. John Nelligan is a victim of circumstance. He does not fit the portrait of the murderer, either by physical or psychological description. Now, I'm going to go with this one, for now, at least, because that's what I believe. I don't believe he's... You know, they said it had to be someone extremely skilled with the harpoon or someone extremely strong, and he doesn't appear to be neither. But we're about to do the harpoon experiment now, so let's see for ourselves.
Something new, Watson. I have the list of sailors who were aboard the Sea Unicorn. We shall soon learn what happened to Nelligan's father. I have only to find them. Let us hope they're still working at the harbour.
I think that if you pretend you're from Scotland Yard...
I doubt it, Watson. And really, I would prefer that all of this remains quiet for now. But I have another solution. I'll call in the specialist.
And who might they be?
The secret police division of Baker Street.
Ah, you mean young Wiggins and his gang?
Yes. Believe me, you'll receive more useful assistance from these little urchins than from a dozen yard detectives. Those children are everywhere. They see and hear everything, and they are cunning. All they lack is organization. I'll summon them.
How will you do that?
There is always a watch beneath our window. I have only to call him.
Wiggins, could you come upstairs, please?
At your service, Mr. Holmes.
Wiggins, I need you to track down certain people for me. I'll give you a list. You can read, can't you?
Big Oliver from our gang. He can, because his father is the coachman of a famous lawyer.
Fascinating. Here is the list of sailors.
Sailors? Easy. Just got to look where the rum and the red lights are.
Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Holmes, but the inspector asks that you come to the station as soon as possible.
Thank you. I'll be there shortly. A spot of whaling, Watson? Would you care to take part?
Are you serious?
No, but we do need to clarify what happened on the night of Black Peter's murder.
A reenactment, then? Is something bothering you?
The sailor's knife, Watson. Why was it on the floor?
Peter Carey attempted to defend himself?
It is possible, but if that is the case, then it alters many things.
I don't quite follow you.
Tell me, my friend, what is the animal closest to man, morphologically, I mean?
Ah, I see what you're getting at, Holmes. You asked me that once before. On the Ripper case, I believe. Do you want to slit some more pigs' throats?
No.
Thank goodness for that.
I wish to impale one with a harpoon.
Wonderful.
Watson, let us pay a visit to our butcher friend in Whitechapel. We require the carcass of a well-fed pig.
And the harpoon?
One of the harpoons on the wall of Black Peter's cabin should do quite nicely.
Well, here we are in the preparation room. I can't say that I like the smell of it much. What do you intend to do?
To indulge myself in a little experiment. The challenge of lancing a pig's carcass with a heavy harpoon.
A little experiment?
Stand aside, Watson. This might be dangerous. I am not well practiced in this exercise. Yet.
Holmes, you should aim for the mark in order to perform the most reliable test.
Of course. Okay, I guess this is where we decide. We can kind of decide whether it's easy or not.
Holmes,
Oh, that was not good.
Better and throw
How about
as
you leave me?
hard as you can.
Watson, why don't you try? Why don't you shave your head? Look at that
The
throw.
harpoon struck the body
Boom!
with
Oh, what?
insufficient strength to pierce it straight through.
Okay, that's not embarrassing. It's not embarrassing at all. Look at that. Again, it didn't work. The accuracy is brilliant, but just not... There you go.
This is the best possible result that I could get. Do you see, Watson? Throwing a harpoon and pinning a man to a wall requires either exceptional strength and training or diabolical luck.
If it was luck, then it was a chance in 1,000 that night.
Well, yes. Let us leave now.
All right. But before we go, I suppose I'll have to pay for all these carcasses you've happily mangled.
Very well, but please hurry.
Of course.
Okay, we have been summoned at Scotland Yard before we went and did that experiment, so that's where we're going to go to now, but we're going to quickly do a deduction on some clues that we have. Okay, it requires a much greater strength than that of an average man to be able to pierce a man's chest with a harpoon all the way through to the wall. A degree of skill would likely be necessary. Also, two men in cooperation might achieve the same result. There is a remote possibility that an unskilled and untrained man could manage to pin Peter Carey to a wall with a harpoon. Now, Watson said and Holmes agreed that that's like a 1 in 1,000, probably more than that. Watson's a bit of a knob jock. So, in my opinion, we'll go with the feat of strength. It's more likely that someone that is skilled and powerful would do that than someone getting lucky, I think.
Mr. Holmes, I'm glad to see you.
As always, what happened?
We have a new suspect, Liam Hurtley. I'm thinking that this case will be resolved very quickly now.
Interesting. Pray tell.
Well, the constable that I left at Woodman's Lee noticed a suspicious individual prowling around during the night.
Do you have him here?
Yes. He refuses to speak with us, but we'll make him talk.
Let us hope so.
Ah, yes, and one more thing. The constable told me that at the time of his arrest, the fellow was writing a letter.
Do you have it?
Of course. It's in the evidence room, at your disposal. Admit that for once, Mr. Holmes, Scotland Yard is a step ahead of you, eh?
Breathtaking.
Tell me how Sherlock Holmes is the biggest pimp ever. Like, for reals. Let's check these. Oh, we've got some boots.
Belongings.
Okay.
Liam Hurtley's.
Very nice.
They're a size 9.5.
Ooh, maybe they will fit into the holes in the garden then. The pen.
Nothing unusual.
Okay, and the stained
The
letter.
stains are fresh. They can be removed with the proper chemicals.
Aha, okay. So, I think what I'm going to do, just to try and remain on top of things and get as much done as efficiently as possible, I think I'm actually going to go and sort this letter out first. So what we'll do is we will skip to when the letter has been done now. Okay, finally, we have the solution that we can do for the letter. And this is what it says. I did as you asked and hid them well, but I beg you to reconsider. Iron, I soot, and remember our vows. I have done nothing dishonourable for which you, me. Okay, now the only thing I would pick out of that person is remember our vows, because that can either be like a sailor's thing, like, yeah, we made a vow when we became sailors, remember our vows, or it's a love thing, in which case I'm starting to think that maybe Mrs. Carey might know a bit more than she's letting on. Regardless, we'll go to Scotland Yard and we'll interrogate Hurtley.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sherlock Holmes. I would like to ask you a few questions.
I've already told the police that I've nothing to say. And you're not even part of the police.
Precisely, and considering your situation, it might be wise to speak with someone who is, shall we say, rather more neutral. You are a suspect in a murder case.
I know. Inspector Lestrade told me. It's ridiculous.
Could you at least tell me who you are, and exactly what happened that you should be brought here?
My name is Liam Hurtley. That I can tell you. But you're not getting any more than that.
Well, we shall see. So tell me, Mr. Hurtley, what did you hide?
Hide? What are you talking about?
I did as you asked, and hid them well. Should I continue?
My letter? But the ink? That's impossible.
A touch of chemistry, nothing special.
Well, you're a smart one. But it's nothing. If you want to know, I was referring to my tools. It was to do with my work, see?
I will check that, Mr. Hurtley. That's all for now. Please escort this suspect for interrogation. Tell me, Mr. Nelligan, what exactly were you hoping to find inside Peter Carey's cabin?
I was trying to find some information about my father.
I assume you had another purpose, to retrieve the bond certificates. Am I correct?
Yes. I discovered some time ago that a few of the missing securities had reappeared on the London market. You can imagine my amazement. I spent months trying to find them, and at last I discovered that the original seller had been Captain Peter Carey. These papers, they belong to my family, but I could not find them there.
Okay, we've got a nice amount out there. We've got a decent amount from either of them. I think Hurtley we're going to have to get more on, and I think in order to do that, we're going to have to go back to the crime scene and see if his boots match the boot print in the garden. Let's have a look then, Mr. Hurtley. It's a perfect fit.
Exactly.
Yes, we've been able to deduct that, you know, they have no gardener, but Hurtley was there. So it makes no sense as to why he was there if they didn't have a gardener. If they had a gardener and it was him, that would make a lot more sense. So I think before we leave, I feel the best course of action is to have a chat with Mrs. Carey, because there's definitely something she's hiding. There's a little twinkle in her eye or something that she's hiding.
Does the name Liam Hurtley mean anything to you?
No, I don't know anyone by that name.
That was very weird, wasn't it? Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll go to Scotland Yard now and go back to Hurtley and ask him why his boot prints are there.
Tell me, Mr. Hurtley, what were you doing at Woodman's Lee?
Woodman's Lee? I've never been there.
The second pair of boots that you had with you when you were arrested perfectly match the footprints found near the cabin where Peter Carey was murdered.
Footprints? That's your proof? How many men have boots like mine? That doesn't make me a murderer.
Now that your presence at Woodman's Lee has been proven, would you care to explain it?
I don't remember. What would I be doing there anyway?
Because you are the gardener at Woodman's Lee.
I'm not. How did you...
I observed your hands. They told me that you work with the earth. Small fragments of plants snagged to your trousers indicate that you were mowing very recently. But the most obvious clue presented itself in the bird embroidered on your handkerchief. A crested tit, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, you got me. Yes, I am a gardener, and I went there to get my tools.
I must examine the site where the garden tools are kept at Woodman's Lee.
Okay, I'm not too sure why Sherlock hasn't mentioned this yet. I'm sure there's a good reason, but we are going to go check the tools, and we're going to go talk to Mrs. Carey, who said she doesn't have a clue who he is and why she's lying. But I tell you when we're going to do that. We're going to do that in the next episode. If you like the video, please leave a like. Please subscribe if you look forward to more, as there will be more. And until next time, have fun. See ya!